In this video, I'm going to share with you my second year as an Udemy instructor. So here's what I'm going to cover in this video. I'll be talking about a brief background about being an instructor on Udemy, key statistics and analysis. This will be from my revenue report and my performance on Udemy as an instructor. I'll also review my earnings in 2024 and finally talk about my plan for 2025. This will be a very data-driven video. I'll be using the data from my instructor dashboard in Udemy to understand what's happening and also to come up with some ways to help me move forward on Udemy as an instructor. A brief background about Udemy. So Udemy is essentially a course marketplace, and you can purchase any course that you want on Udemy and learn. So the courses are basically video courses, although there are also some courses that are practice papers. A wide variety of courses. So the typical one that you see will be the technology ones as well as the business related one. Okay, leadership, business analytics, and so on. Okay, however, Udemy doesn't just sell courses on data science, web development, business related like marketing, business analytics, and so on. It also sells a wide range of other courses like how to solve the Rubik's Cube, how to dance, and even badminton. Yes, you hear me right. Okay, so apart from the normal type of technologies and business related courses, as an instructor, you basically can sell anything, things that do not violate the traditional rules of morality and things that are legal. Okay, basically you can create a course out of it. And if you have to look at it, do these course sales? If you have to look at this course, Badminton Mastery, okay, it actually has 165 ratings. Look at these dance here. This basic dance moves for guys is selling really well. There are thousands of reviews. Even this course on how to solve Rubik's Cubes, there are still many people who have bought this. So it shows that truly Udemy is truly a course marketplace where you can sell any skill that you have, and there probably will be some people who will buy it. With that being said, let's talk about how you can earn money as an instructor on Udemy. Basically, there are two ways that Udemy sell courses. One of it is through a subscription model called Udemy for Business. So for the consumers, they will pay a monthly or a yearly subscription fee in order to access the courses that are available under Udemy for Business. From the instructor's standpoint, you'll be paid by the number of minutes watched. Okay, none of my courses are under the Udemy for Business because in order for your course to be curated under the Udemy for Business, it must be a course that Udemy wants to curate in their business collection, and it does need to have a large number of students plus reviews. Udemy does not say officially how many students or you need in order for your course to be admitted into Udemy for Business, but from what I look, okay, you need thousands of students in order to be enrolled. And having thousands of students doesn't necessarily mean that your course will be selected. There is another business model, which is the Udemy, where as a consumer, if you have a consumer, you can purchase a course that you are interested in, okay, and then just consume it. Courses are usually video courses. Of course, there are also online practice papers. All of my courses right now are under Udemy. So each course is sold as like a unit product. So if the sales comes from Udemy, I will get 37% of the net earnings that Udemy receive. If the sales comes from your coupon code, then the instructor will get 97% of the net earnings Udemy receive. So let me give you an example to illustrate this. So let's first look at if the sales comes from Udemy. It could be from the ads that Udemy paid out, the affiliates of Udemy, and also from the organic traffic that Udemy gets. So if the sales comes from Udemy that the instructor will get 37% of the net earnings after deducting for tax, transaction fees, and sometimes iOS fees as well. So this is an example of a transaction or a sales that was made, okay, that comes from Udemy. So the consumer or my student paid $12.47 USD for that. Okay, then after deducting for tax and transaction fees, this is the amount that Udemy actually gets. Okay, and then from this $10.47, I will get a 37% cut of it. Now, if the sales comes from my coupon code, okay, then I'll get 97% of the net earnings. So let me give you another example. So for example, for this sales here, it is from me. So one of my students actually purchased it through my coupon code. It's basically a link with a referral code. Okay, so if they purchase it through that code, then I'll get 97% of the net amount. So the student paid $16.34 after deducting for 9% tax and a 3% transaction fee. Okay, the net amount is $14.50 and I get 97% of it, which amounts to $14.07. So now that we have looked at how you can earn money as an instructor on Udemy, next let's take a look at key statistics and analysis. And these statistics are based on my revenue report. It will be different for other instructors, and it will definitely be different from Udemy as a whole. First off, the number of courses that I have at the end of 2024 was 26. Initially, when I wanted to make this video, I wanted to say, hey, I did not do much for Udemy this year, and these are my results. But when I took a quick look, I realized that last year in 2023, I published 16 courses. This year, I published 10. It is probably slightly more than 50% of the number of courses that I made last year, but I wouldn't say that I did not do much. It is inaccurate. Okay, but why I thought that I didn't do much this year was because of recency bias, because the last time I published any course was back in August, which was basically 4 months ago already. So in total, I published 10 courses in 2024, but once you publish the course, they will continue to be on the Udemy platform and be sold there. So counting the previous courses that I've made in the previous years, this adds up to a total of 26 courses. My courses are in different niches. Okay, I made a video here where I talk about what I realized when I do many courses in the same niche. The revenue actually saturates out. By increasing the number of courses will not increase the total revenue. So that was why I tried to make just a few courses on each niche and then move on to the next niche. Let's take a look at my total number of students. So all in all, my total number of students in 2024 is 522. This is my ratings. So I have an overall rating of 4.6 to date. Okay, from month to month, my ratings fluctuates between 4.55 to 4.68. In terms of reach, I'm not sure whether this is my reach of Udemy's reach. So my courses are purchased by people all over the world, okay, as can be seen from this map here. Next, I want to show you what is the highest revenue versus and the lowest revenue, okay, for each sales. So when I tell people that, hey, this year I taught 522 students on Udemy, some of my friends would think, oh, you must be really rich. This is far from the truth. You don't earn a lot on Udemy. Each sales is just a few dollars. Of course, there are some outliers which I will share. So let me show you my lowest earnings for a sale, which is this, and that is 73 cents. And my highest is $19.87. And this is extremely rare. Now, I actually looked through all my data from in 2024, and these are the sales that made more than $10. So As long as it is my promotion, all of them will make more than $10. If and basically they just play normal price. Okay, and I will get more than $10 from the sales because I get 97% of the net earnings that Udemy receives. There are times where I do make more than $10 from Udemy's promotion. And this is when Udemy sells them at this price here. Okay. And people purchase it at that price. So none of my courses are listed at $59.98 and so on, to be honest. All my courses, I list them at, I think it's the $98.99 range, $98.99. But I really feel that it doesn't matter what price you list the course at, because none of them are sold at that price. And even if you list it at that price that students pay is actually a big range. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. So all these sales here are from Udemy promotion, and they actually made me more than $10. And in fact, the highest that I've made is $19.87 from the sale of this course here for £49.99. Although there are times where you might get very little money from the sale of each course. So although the lowest that I get from each sale is 71 cents and the highest is $19.87, the average revenue per sales remains the same year to year. So each year, the average revenue from each sale is between $3 to $4, and in 2024, my average was $3.98. Next, let me share with you my results for the year. So there are many columns in this table here. So I would like to direct you to this column here on net earnings, because I'm based in Singapore where there is no tax treaty with US. So any sales made in the US will be subjected to the 30% withholding tax. So rather than looking at revenue before withholding tax, let's just take a look at the net earnings. And when I sum out all these net earnings here, I make a total of, drum roll please, $2,079.26. Let's analyze these data more closely. So I have plotted a graph between the number of students per month versus the revenue that I have received, because I want to find out whether when there are more students, I will have more revenue. There are many factors that affects the revenue. The number of students could be one. Okay. And also, there are other factors such as where the students are based in, because not everyone pays the same price, or most people pay different prices, particularly if you have a different country, you'll pay a different price for the course. Then there is also the sales price. So some people buy it at sales, some people buy it at other prices depending on the algorithm of Udemy. So I do want to know whether the number of students affects whether having a larger number of students will increase my net revenue, my net earnings. So I plotted a table between the students in a month versus the revenue that month, the month's revenue. The red diamond is the net earnings. Okay, and the blue one is the revenue before taxes. If I were to look at the net earnings versus the revenue, basically the more my revenue, the more my net earnings. Okay, even after accounting for withholding tax. Yes, some months there are more withholding tax than other months because there are more sales made in US. I tried to do a regression of the revenue before tax. Okay, before withholding tax versus the number of students. So it is a positive relationship, and the R square value is 0.988 or 89, which is relatively okay. So that means it is a good linear fit. So this is a linear regression. So when R square is close to 1, that means it is a close positive relationship, or the better the regression. When I do the same between the number of students in a month versus the net earnings, it is again a positive relationship, and also the R square close to 1, suggesting that it is a good linear fit. So in conclusion, I can conclude from here that the more the number of students a month, the more my net revenue as well as my revenue before withholding taxes. So if I want to increase my earnings on Udemy, then having more students is essential. Next, I wanted to look at the number of students in that month versus the net revenue per sales. So I wanted to know that if I have more students that month, does it affect how much each student pay? Okay. So again, if you to look at this, there's basically no relationship. I believe if I were to draw a line, it's basically just a almost horizontal line. So I cannot see data as well as a computer can. So I put in a linear regression line. And true enough, there is little relationship between the number of students per month and the net revenue per sales. Although there is a downward trend, the more the number of students you have per month, the net revenue per sales becomes lower. Okay, but if you look at the R-squared value, is very close to 0. So the closer this R-squared value is to 0, that means the less relationship between the number of students and the net revenue per sales. Okay, so you know that looks like a downward trend. Okay, it looks like a negative relationship, but this relationship is not strong. So I am more inclined to conclude that the relationship between the number of students per month and the net revenue per sales is not strong. As long as I try to have more students in a month, okay, basically I'll be able to increase my revenue. Next, I look at the number of courses versus net earnings. I wanted to know that if I were to continue pumping out more courses, will it increase my net earnings? So I plotted a table. So I calculated the number of courses at the end of the month and compare it to the net earnings of that month. So take note, not all the courses are produced or are published at the beginning or at the same time in each month. Okay, but to make the data analysis easier, I just conclude that as long as the course was published before the end of that month, okay, I will just count it as so this refers to the total number of the courses at the end of that month, and this is the net earnings. So let's take a look at the data. So basically this is the data that I get. So you'll notice that at 26, which is the number of courses which I am at now, 26 courses, these are the values that I have. So let me draw a linear regression line, okay, between the number of courses at the end of the month versus the net revenue. Based on the R-squared value here, it is 0.38, which is far from 1. Okay, so the relationship isn't very good. So when I was taking a look at these values here, I suspected that could these be causing this R-squared value to be so off, right? Okay, because I stopped at 26 courses, and over the different months, these are the values that I obtained. So whereas for the other months, right, most of the other months, except for 22 courses, I have 22 courses for 2 of the months. I produced 2 courses in April, and I did not produce any course in May. So the number of courses remains as 22 for both April and May. So what I thought is, because for most of the other values, they are just one single point. But for the 26 courses as well as maybe 22 courses, I have more data points. So rather than using the spot value, I decided that I would use average values if I have the same number of courses for more than 1 month. So this was what I did. So for 22 courses, okay, I have 22 courses at the end of both April and May. So I found the average earnings of these 2 months. Similarly, I have 26 courses from August all the way to December. So I found the average net earnings for these months here, and I plotted a new table. I plotted the number of courses versus the average monthly net earnings. And this is the table that I got. And what surprised me was that my R-squared value actually dropped. Recall that here, when I did not find the average, my R-squared value was 0.37. So that means it says that the relationship between these two is stronger than this average one. Okay, so recall I took the 22 courses and I found the average. Then 26 courses and I find the average monthly earnings. This, by finding average for some of the points, I actually have a smaller R squared value. And that was quite surprising. So I wondered, was it because the relationship wasn't linear? When your R squared value is very low, it could be because these two do not have a good relationship. But what relationship is basically the relationship that you decide on. So I've been till now doing just a basic linear regression. So I try to plot a straight line graph through these points. But could it be because that the relationship was not linear? Rather, it could be exponential, logarithmic, or a power function, and so on. So I played around with the regression types that are available in my spreadsheet. And the one that I found with the best fit was actually an exponential relationship. So by putting an exponential relationship between the number of courses at the end of the month versus the net revenue, okay, I got an R squared value of 0.44. Then if I were to take average, if the number of courses stayed the same, okay, then this is what I got. The exponential trend line actually gives me a R squared value of 0.35. Still not a very good fit. So now I take a look at this trend line, this exponential trend line here, and the points here. And it is very clear to me that there is a very big outlier here. So let's take a look at this. And this comes from having 18 courses and earning a net monthly earning of $205.33. And this outlier probably caused this R squared value to be very far away from 1. So I'm going to take out this value here and do a regression. But before that, let's understand why there is such a big difference, or there's such a big discrepancy here. So this is my earnings by courses in February 2024 with 18 courses. In that month, I actually published a course, okay, which account for $117.82 of the sales. That means more than 50% of the total amount that I've earned in February. There are a few factors I believe that contribute to why this new course had such a large sales. So firstly, Udemy does push out your course. I see it from the data that I have collected. So when there is a course that I have created and there is some demand for it, Udemy will push it out. The way Udemy pushed out this particular course here was never seen in my other courses. And secondly, after the first month of pushing out this course heavily, it actually stopped after that. I'm not sure what the reason is, but because of this big push from Udemy to push out this course, it actually resulted in a outlier, or in other words, a much higher sales for this number of courses. This is in December. This course here, okay, earned the most in the first month at $117.82. In December, this course here accounts for maybe just slightly more than a quarter of my total revenue, and it earned me $64.93 before deducting withholding tax. Okay, so I believe this is because of the traffic that Udemy gives for that particular course, which is in a popular niche. Okay, that for that first month where it was pushed out, that results in this sales here. Took out the 18 course in February and the average monthly net earnings, and once I took that out and do a exponential regression, I got a R squared value that is close to 1. This means that the data is a good fit. Okay, it's not the best fit is 1. Okay, but when you're doing real life analysis, you'll never get to 1. And 0.8, it's relatively good. Okay, so now coming back to this. So based on my exponential regression, I obtained this formula fx, which is the average monthly net earnings, and X refers to the number of courses, and this is the equation that I get. So with this, I'm going to use this equation or this results from this regression to plan for 2025. So let's talk more about my plan for 2025. So if I were to reflect back for the past 2 years, although I don't earn much from Udemy, I do enjoy creating courses on Udemy. I do enjoy explaining a topic. And the nice thing about Udemy is I don't need to find my traffic myself. If one day I feel like creating a course on a certain topic, I can simply do it and then upload it, because there is not so many course or topic restrictions on Udemy as compared to the other course marketplace. So my plan for 2025 is to actually increase my net earnings. Recall my regression model previously. So we know that the net revenue, okay, can be estimated to be equals to 20.5 times exponent 0.088 times x, where x is the number of courses. So if I were to rearrange this equation and make the x the subject, then it will be 11.4 ln net revenue over 20.5. So why do I want this? This is because I want to know how many courses do I need, based on this model here, how many courses do I need to achieve the net revenue that I want. So a desirable income that I want from Udemy would be around 3,000 USD per month. So if I want to have a net income of 3,000 USD per month, then based on this formula here, I need a total of 57 courses. So right now I am at 26 courses, so this would mean 31 more courses, which would mean a few more years to go before I could potentially reach this value if this model holds. Okay, so let's talk about a shorter term, because I'm more interested in my plan for 2025. So for 2025, what I would be looking at is probably I could make maybe around 15 more courses if I'm consistent. So with 15 more courses plus the 26 courses that I have currently, this would mean a total of 41 courses. Okay, and if I were to put 41 into this equation here as x, I'll get a net revenue of around $756 per month. My project in 2025 is to test out this model that I've created for number of courses versus net revenue based on my scenario. So based on past data, I've come up with this model. Net revenue equals to $20.50 exponential 0.088x. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to create 15 more courses to make the course 41. And at the same time as I make more courses, okay, I will collect the data and test this model to see how accurate it is. Thank you for watching this very long video. And if you want to know whether this model works, do stay tuned.